What up, all my fight fans? So this Saturday we got ourselves a UFC fight night. We got ourselves Curtis Blades going against Sergei Pavlovich. It is definitely, I feel and personally feel, is for the number one contender in the heavyweight division. It should be a very interesting fight, guys. You know, we already know Curtis Blades, by far one of the most I guess you could say well-rounded fighters in the heavyweight division. His wrestling is definitely very, I think, beyond limits, aside from John Jones, above everyone else's, my personal opinion. His hands have gotten a lot better. You know, he has actually fought a lot of great guys like Alistair Overeem, Junior Dos Santos, Mark Hunt, Volkov, Rosenstreich. You know, he's beaten a lot of these guys, but he's also lost to a few other guys, such as Francis Ngannou and Derek Lewis. What that tells me is that, you know, he is really good when it comes to wrestling, when it comes to striking, but when he gets connected with some of these guys with brutal power, you know, he has a tendency to get hit and just, that's it, lights out for him. But you know, what actually was a good transition is who actually has brutal power would be Sergei Pavlovich as well. You know, he just recently knocked out guys like Tai Tuivasa, Derek Lewis as well, I believe. So he's actually been in there with some pretty big heavy hitters himself and put them to sleep. But these two guys actually have a common opponent, and their common opponent is Alistair Overeem. Curtis Blades was pretty much being able to big brother Alistair Overeem and pretty much put him down and do whatever you want with him at will. I think he even stopped him, where Alistair Overeem was able to stop Sergei Pavlovich. So, you know, MMA math doesn't always mix up, but that tells you something. Is definitely, you know, you want to look into that fight 100%. One thing also I understand is that Sergei Pavlovich, even though he is actually, been training for quite some time. I believe he's also trained over in AKA. He's had some knowledge with other guys like DC, possibly even Cain Velasquez. You know, he's been around for quite some time, training and such, trying to get his skill better, and his wrestling's got better. But I don't think it's at the same level or the same pedigree as a Curtis Blades. Curtis Blades is definitely a much more decorated, of course, and a much more better wrestler than Sergey. So that should definitely be a big favorite for Curtis Blades. You know, Curtis Blades should be able to, if he can avoid those big power shots, if he can avoid getting hit with some of those big old haymakers that Sergey is probably going to start throwing at him, then he should be able to win this fight very handily. You know, use his wrestling, use that skill that you be able to tire out his opponent and drain them and bring him into deep waters to where you can be able to do whatever it is that you actually want to do. So Curtis Blades should be the favorite in it, and he should be able to win. No disrespect to Sergey, but if Sergey has a chance, it is try to catch Curtis Blades, because he's seen that he can be caught and he can be put to sleep like Derek Lewis, like Francis Ngannou. Now, I mentioned earlier that is this going to be for a number one contendership? Well, it could possibly be. Right now, there's all kinds of rumors about John Jones retiring, John Jones fighting at MSG, and we already know usually that MSG isn't until November. So right now, this fight's in April. So if that just so happens to come into fruition, if that is going to be the fight where it's Stipe versus John Jones, it's a big mystery, because one, if John Jones does beat Stipe, is he going to retire? Which means he will vacate the heavyweight championship, which means 100% that this should be like Curtis Blades possibly fighting for whoever just happened to win, or vacating heavyweight championship of the world. Now, if Stipe wins, we pretty much already know there's going to possibly be a rematch, which means Curtis Blades is going to be pushed further down the road. Now, let's just say if John Jones does win, Stipe, he beats Stipe very handily. You never know what might happen, but let's just say that does happen. And Francis Ngannou decides to come back to the UFC. Or what are you going to think is going to happen? You think they're going to give Curtis Blades that shot? Or you think they're going to give it to Francis Ngannou? So there's a lot. It just so happens to be not just for Curtis Blades to win this, but he also has to be really hoping and really lucky that the fact that either John Jones does win and Francis Ngannou doesn't come back. Because if he does lose, then more likely he is not getting a shot until not next year, possibly the year after. Because you still got big heavy hitters in the heavyweight division. I'm talking about Stipe and I'm talking about Francis. So once he gets through with those guys, then pretty much the rest of the division can do whatever it is they want to do. Right now, he's pretty much fighting for fun. I know he had a fight with Tom Aspinall. And unfortunately, Tom Aspinall in the opening round hurt himself. I think it was his both legs, or his knees or something to that nature. I know he's due to come back, so that could potentially be a matchup for later on down the year, because we already know no heavyweight championship in the world is going to be taking place anytime soon, up until MSG more likely. So guys, You never know what might happen. But guys, definitely tune into this fight. It should be very interesting. It should be very entertaining. You got yourself a high grappler against a very powerful striker. You know, so definitely do not want to miss it. UFC Fight Night this Saturday. Tune in, guys. Let me know what you guys think after the fight. Like, subscribe, hit that notification button, and I'll see you guys in the next video.